I think things are going to get worse in the UK. A lot of people are going to blame Labour for that. I think, I'm still open-minded about the Labour Party, but as in the damage that's been done in the 12 years prior is still in effect. So even that is going to be tough. It's not just UK's government policies that is making the UK and the Western world a tough place to live. We also spend all of our time on social media. It drains us mentally, even when we don't realise it. We don't socialise in real life as much as we should, and we far less people are having kids and being in meaningful relationships. It's sad.
I totally agree with what she's saying right there. She says, the UK is dying and I need to vent. I recommend leaving the UK in 2025. It's a very stressful place to live and I predict this is just the beginning. You only get one shot at life and I'm not spending it working for barely any money, helping other people become millionaires. F that. That's a very, very insightful take that I think many people should hear. Let's hear what she has to say about that.
UK. So let me tell you why I chose to leave the UK, why I feel better already for it, and why I would, with a heavy heart, and I mean that seriously, I do love my country a lot, but with a heavy heart, I would genuinely recommend that if you're watching this as a young person in the UK, you consider moving. So the first reason is that you're genuinely paid shit. Like, even if you think you're on a good wage, half of that goes in taxes. That's if you're on a really good wage, right? And if you're not on a good wage, the reason you don't pay half in taxes is because the government knows that you need that money literally to survive. So the money you're making isn't to have fun with, it's literally to get you through the month so that you can work for the next month. We live in a country where if you try to better yourself by going to university, the interest you pay on your education means that it's basically guaranteed that for the rest of your working life you're 10%, 9%, so 10% of that is going to be taken away from your salary. And if you're someone who isn't making that much to begin with, or did a degree that's completely vital for the economy, you might resent that for the rest of your life 9% of your education but is taken away because of your education. Your choice to better yourself costs you so much money. And if you're like me, then you will have graduated but never had a graduate job. So you'll be paying 9% just for the experience, which quite frankly is bollocks, because for me personally, half of my experience of university was during COVID, so the experience wasn't there. But also just in terms of how I feel as someone with an okay amount of intelligence, I don't attribute much of what I've learned in life to my university experience at all. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, I totally agree with her situation right there. I can feel the pain in her voice, I can see her emotion, and I can tell you that it's everywhere like this right now. We live in a crisis, in a very, very difficult world. For anybody to afford a living, it is exceptional right now. The inflation is rising, and whether you are in the UK or in the US or in Germany or in France, in Europe, The prices are skyrocketing and we are getting paid next to nothing if you work a normal job, and to be able to afford a home, start a family, having kids, paying your bills, etc. And even after buying a house and having gone to university, you are basically in debt for the rest of your life and you can barely make any decent living at all. And it's very sad to see that our parents had it much, much better than our generation right now. Very sad. It's probably gonna get worse, like she says.
It's very frustrating to owe a government so much money when you just don't feel that you've got much back in return. You know, and it's the same with taxes. Look, I grew up left-leaning. I'm still left-leaning in principle, in theory, but it's if you can't see where your taxes are going, it's so stressful. It's so stressful that such a high percentage of your income can be taken away from you when you know what you could do with that to better your life, and in the process of bettering your life, better the lives of the people around you and society. You know, if you could get a house and if you could, you know, invest in some skill sets, blah, 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 with that money, that would be good for the economy. That would be good for your community. But instead, you throw it down a money hole. That's really what it feels like. I had poor mental health a few years ago, and I was told it was a priority that I get therapy. And I was put on a waiting list for therapy, and 15 months later I got a call to start therapy, and by then I had to decline it because my address had changed. So the area that I was entitled to it for, I was no longer in, and I was considered critical. I was the priority, and it took 15 months. Now, I got to sort myself out in that case. So, but so many people don't. Some people literally die, and I'm gutted for them. I have a younger sister who is quite severely disabled, and so she's just. It's a very clear-cut situation where she's someone who completely needs support and will never, will never get a house based on, of the money she's saved or anything. She's entitled to supported living accommodation, and she got on the waiting list this year. And in Dumfries and Galloway, it could be 5 to 10 years before she gets supported living accommodation. So in 10 years' time, theoretically, could be when she moves out of mum's. By then, she will be in her late 30s. This is someone with dreams to be independent. And by then, my mum will be in her late 60s and will have looked after my sister for 38 years.
Yeah, it's very sad to see that in this economy, you cannot receive the healthcare that you deserve. Everybody has a right to receive the healthcare that they need, whether it is physical health or mental health. They basically cannot afford it, and they cannot afford to move away from their parents' house either. They don't have the money, even if they work a full-time job, 80 hours a week. They just simply cannot afford to move out and buy a home or rent a flat for themselves. It's very sad that the situation is getting worse and worse, honestly. It's like this in the UK, but elsewhere as well.
Obviously, you should be such a primary part of caring for your loved ones when they're sick or disabled. That's how it's always worked, but the idea that there's basically no chance of support, and the idea that, unless you're mega rich, you just have to accept that situation. It's such a disservice to my sister. It's a disservice to my mother, who has paid taxes her entire life, who's always contributed so much to this economy. Now that it's time for her to get something back, she's not going to, or at least not for basically ever. And also, when I think about the fact that my sister's very well cared for by my mum is someone who enjoys caring for my sister and, can basically do it. When I consider that that's the best case scenario, but out there in Scotland, there are so many far more compromising situations where they will also be told it'll take 10 years. And, lives are falling apart in those situations. People are being abused. Finances are being ruined. It's very upsetting. It's very upsetting to me. If I could just circle back to mental health in the UK, I think every aspect of how mental health is treated in the UK is so damaging for the mentally unwell. Because first of all, if you're a young person, you're quite obsessed with mental health. We're always analysing our feelings. We're always diagnosing ourselves based on stuff that we see online. We're constantly talking about mental health. But we're stuck at that stage where we're over-analysing ourselves, but no real help is given. And that's the worst of both. What you want is that you get the opportunity to be self-aware, and you get the opportunity to explore who you are, vulnerabilities and all, but that you don't stay in that stage where you're kind of thinking, oh, who am I? What am I? Why do I feel like this? That stage is important because it then takes you to the next stage, which is action. But we don't get to have action when the NHS just can't support you. You have to, and I'm sorry to be blunt, you have to literally have a suicide attempt or something crazy before you're urgent enough that they can really prioritise you. And then what does it mean that, even when that happens, does it mean that you get to make a full recovery and you're really looked after, and a thorough investigation into your mental health is done from a holistic perspective as well as a medical one? Very unlikely. And if that's true for mental health, it would be true for physical health as well. I think because of these riots that happened this summer, it's just obvious that people are very unhappy. Now, depending on where you sit politically, you might feel that unhappiness is legitimately because of immigration, or you might feel that that's misplaced anger and that it's actually about other things, or you might feel it's a bit of both. But either way.
Yeah, I truly think that a lot of people are in this situation right now. They just feel lost in life. They don't know why they exist, what is their goal in life, and how they can get away from all of their problems. They might have family problem, personal problem, relationships problem, financial problems are possibly the worst. They don't have any trust in the future. They don't see any future for them or their family and how they can start living a healthy and happy life. It's very sad. It's very sad. What I can tell you and what I've done for myself is taking matters in my own hands, finding exactly what I want to accomplish in life and putting all my energy into positive thinking, into getting into self-improvement, improving my self-confidence and my skills and my own abilities to solve all the problems that are put in front of me for myself and by myself. And do not rely on anybody to help you, because you're not gonna get the help that you need from anybody. Unfortunately, in this life, you can only rely on yourself and on yourself alone. And you have to do whatever you can to improve yourself and to help yourself getting better physically, mentally, and financially, and then you can start helping others.
People in the UK are livid. They're so angry because we were brought up being told we lived in one of the best countries in the world, you know, that you were so lucky compared to other places. Now, of course, that's true, but if every month you're working just to get through that month, and you are living in a place that isn't that nice, that's taking all your money in rent to pay for some, like, rich person's 7th holiday this year, and, you know, you don't feel respected at work, the weather isn't nice, you're becoming increasingly anxious because you're aware that you're aging and that you don't have a pension, and that you're never going to be able to afford a house, and oh shit, like, can I even consider if I want kids? You know, because if I can't even afford kids, then is it even good for me to even consider if I can have kids? And if I can't have kids, and I don't have my own place, and I've no money, do I even want to date? Do I, you know, even want to feel that I have an opinion? Do I want to, you know, really pursue my dreams? Can I? It takes so much from you. It's very upsetting. I didn't feel this upset a few years ago. A few years ago, I would have said, look, everywhere's got their problems, which is true. And I would have said, you know, a lot of this comes from a lack of perspective. If you go to other places, you'd realise that you've got it better. And the people love to moan, etc., etc. Well, I've now been to quite a few places, I'm very lucky to say. And of course it's true that everyone's got their problems, but this idea that the UK is better than everywhere else is just bollocks.
Yeah, it is bollocks. No place is better than everywhere else. I don't believe so. I think you just gotta make the best of what you have. There are always people that are gonna have it way, way worse than you have it right now. And so you can find happiness by being grateful with what you've already accomplished and what you've already have, and looking to the future in a hopeful manner that you have the ability to solve your problem and get your life back on the right track. You have to start taking small steps toward your goals, and then eventually, if you keep at it, you will succeed and make your dreams come true.
You know, that mindset we have is really holding us back. It really stops us from feeling that we can complain. Yeah. So what made my mind change a few years ago is that I graduated from a pretty good uni, if I may say so. I applied for a shit ton of graduate jobs and I couldn't find any. And for a while I was actually okay with that, because it's like, well, this is, you know, you're going to spend the whole of your life in a good job. So if you have 2 or 3 years where you don't, and you're doing waitressing, which is fun, but not making you a lot of money, then that's cool. You've no responsibilities right now anyway. Years and years went by where I was always applying and doing this minimum wage job, waitressing, which I did enjoy it, but you know, there's no money in it, there's no respect, and eventually it really compromises your CV if it's all you can say you've done. How I managed to be a waitress, so someone on minimum wage, but still not live at home with my parents, was that I was a live-in waitress. So I worked in a hotel that I also lived in staff accommodation on the side of. And the hotel, it's nothing that dramatic, but it was just one of these hotels where, like, the managers above you make 50p more, but they're dead arsey to you. You know, they think that makes them it, even though they're not necessarily better at the job, they've just been there longer or whatever. And then, you know, the people...
I think it's great. I think it's great that she found a way to improve her life by moving out of the UK, getting a normal job, and finding hope in the thing that she's doing now and what she can do in the future. And she, in this video, is giving advice to young people to Leave the UK, find a better place, and take matters into your own hand. Only you and yourself can determine how you're gonna live your life. You only live once, and you should definitely make the best you can out of it. Let's see what people are saying in the comments. Hello, this is an interview-based channel, and I plan to keep it that way. This video is a one-off, and I feel particularly effective here. Secondly, I'm aware I look a fool. I decided I was going to do this video the way home from work. I got it, but I'm a pigeon. I'm just a little chilly. I could have spent half an hour. Okay. People criticizing her appearance is probably not the best thing to do, honestly. When a CEO starts selling their own company shares, it's a warning sign. Yes, the UK has been selling its assets to foreign investors for years. The ship is almost sunk. Yeah, I agree. I'm Spanish and I lived 15 years in London, but I saw it coming back to Spain in 2018. I feel very sorry because I love London to pieces, but no way I was going to say that. Yes, London is a very, very expensive place to live, and it's only getting worse. Unless you are a very rich person, you should definitely not live in London. Get someplace cheaper and save money. I left the UK 22 years ago. I saw the writing on the wall. Wild horses wouldn't drag me back there. Wow, people are very, very pessimistic about the UK. In the comment section. As a Brazilian, this is haunting by how familiar it feels. I have heard talk like that my entire life. To see a country that always stood as example to be followed failing down is painful. God bless you all. As an American, I work for a major bank in England. I was surprised then how low the pay was for folks not in management. Yes. Entry-level jobs are still getting paid very, very little, unfortunately, and you need many, many years of climbing the corporate ladder to be able to afford any place to live, honestly, and any decent living. It's sad. Seems like it took two partners working together to live a modest life. Yes, yes. Nowadays, both partners have to work to make any kind of decent living. I think the problem with the UK and other places is greed. Yeah, I don't think it's greed at all. Where the well-off enjoy a real life. Oh, way in the US, a waitress with master finds it hard to quit their job because it pays so much more than job requiring a master's degree. Well, that's good. That's good. Depends where you're doing your waitressing, basically. Thanks for watching. I hope this video was insightful and helpful and enjoyable to you. Let me know what you think about this in the comment below this video. Thanks for watching, and click right there to watch the next video, and I will see you there. Bye bye.